Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome President Aleksander Kwaśniewski.
I would like to say that I'm extremely honored to be tonight with my closest friend, not only political friend, but closest friend, Valdas Adamkus, in this room. I remember all our meetings, cooperation. Today, during one of my previous interview, the journalist described this time of our common work as a golden era, and maybe that is a small exaggeration, but it was really a very, very good time, and I'm extremely grateful to you, Valdas, for everything what we did together, for our NATO efforts, pro-NATO efforts, European Union efforts, and Ukrainian efforts, because as you remember, together with Valdas, we were this, let's say...
Orange Revolution in 2004.
But I don't know how to describe our role. We were moderators, facilitators,
probably.
Peacemakers,
yeah.
You know, everything.
All in one.
Yes, all in one. And finally, we found a solution how to avoid the very, very likely civil war, something like that. And Valdas was a very, very important part of this very positive history. And if you be so kind and applaud Valdas Adamkus, your president, and my good friend.
Thank you.
And I tell you even more that, of course, this time of our cooperation was a time with some problems in our bilateral ties as well. But still, we knew very well that we have priorities. And these priorities for us is the security, NATO, development, civilization progress, European Union, democracy. And we tried to solve these problems, these bilateral problems, but in a very pragmatic way. And that is my good advice to today's leaders of our countries, to concentrate the attention on the serious issues, strategic issues, and to have very pragmatic approach to all this, not small, but sometimes quite serious bilateral issues, what is necessary to solve.
What do you precisely mean when you are saying pragmatic issues? What's the content of it?
Not to exaggerate this, you know, that's such long story is a question of Polish names, you know, that to use Polish names, you know, it was...
Pisownia nazwisk.
Pisownia nazwisk, so-called. Okay, that is important, especially for Polish minority, but we cannot put this problem on the same level as NATO membership, for example, what was the issue of our time, or European Union membership. But today is a question of security. Today we have a really problem with aggressive politics of Russia, of Putin. I understand you are after main course, you are not hungry, so you have time to listen to me. So that's, please relax and use this opportunity. And the second remark, and I think that is very much in favor of our host today, organizer, this, let's say, Organization for Free Market Economy of Lithuania. I try to be sometimes in Vilnius. Last time, it was some years ago, I met Madam Speaker this time. I was last time 2015. And I remember Vilnius from previous visits. And I tell you, for a very long time, even after European Union enlargement, it was such feeling that, well, Lithuania is going forward, but with some problems, without necessary energy. And today I have to say that I see Vilnius very energetic, very nice, changed, with new buildings, new city, etc. And I think this is a very good sign that finally you are strong, you are going forward, you have growth of your economy, you are interesting place for investments, And that is great success of you, of Lithuanians, and I congratulate you this, and especially I don't jealous, because Polish economic development last years is also quite good. So that is not I don't speak from the position of the country underdeveloped. We are good, we are successful, but I appreciate and I admire very much this progress, what I can see here in Vilnius. And congratulations, and again, that is good time for applause.
Mr. President, yes, please.
Finally,
yes, please. You can.
I understand you finish your
I'm not hungry. Also, I can relax.
Yeah,
please.
You can relax. We can offer you the glass of wine if you want. You know, don't worry.
Thank you, Mr. President.
And going back to the question, I of course. You know, when the politicians are good, when they understand very well, the politics is like a life, it's a very tricky issue. Because in politics it's necessary to combine three elements together, and then you can have a success. That is a place, man or woman, and time. And we did it. We did because we understood, Valdas, the Lithuanian leadership in Poland, me and my colleagues from different political groups, that is a time to achieve these goals. And the beginning of this transition changes in Poland, 89, 90, we realized that we have three elements which we should create, or four elements to create for good future of Poland. The first is democracy, freedom of democracy. For that we needed a constitution, and we have since 97 the new constitution, which is working still. The second is good market-oriented economy. We started with very difficult shock therapy of Leszek Balcerowicz. We continued, and now we have quite good, effective economy based on the strong position of small and middle-sized companies. What is really Polish advantage, because these small companies, they are enough good and enough flexible to react on all these changes on the market and in the world. The third pillar was security, and we understood that we cannot stay in the gray zone, because in this debate at the beginning of the 90s, the alternative discussed in Poland was to Finlandization, so-called Finlandization, or NATO membership. I decided NATO membership because Finlandization, especially after end of Cold War, was invitation to stay in some kind of security vacuum, of gray zone. And even now this idea of Finlandization sounds funny because Finland is a member of NATO. No? Who could imagine, you know, in the beginning of 90s that finally Sweden and Finland will be in NATO. So it happened in 99. We have 25 years of our full membership. And finally, 20 years ago, we were accepted, and after Polish referendum, we accepted a membership in the European Union. So we created these four necessary pillars for good future of Poland. Democracy, constitution, market economy, security, NATO, and progress, European Union. And of course, it was very, very unique and very small window of opportunity. Frankly speaking, for Poland, it would be disaster if we would repeat the mistake of Slovaks, because of Metzger's politics, Slovakia was not invited for NATO in 99, because 99 is the last year of Yeltsin. And if Poland wouldn't be the member of NATO, why Poland was a special case? Because we are the biggest in this region, and Russia was very much against Polish membership into NATO. So, but we used this opportunity, and then I helped, what Valdas is the best witness of that, for Baltic states, especially for Lithuania, to be members of NATO as well. Because from Polish perspective, it was absolutely obvious that our security is very much interdependent with the security of the region, you know, especially Baltic states. And last point, what I want to say, I remember the Prague summit when finally Lithuania was invited to NATO. We had our discussion among leaders of NATO countries, including me, and then some who went to president of these three Baltic states and invited them to the room. Valdas was among these leaders. They came, and in my speech I said, for me it was extremely touching moment, because in my opinion the real end of Second World War happened during these seconds or minutes in Prague. The end of Ribbentrop-Molotov Pact, the end of this division of the world, the end of Soviet superiority. Those times, it was absolutely historical, and I'm very glad that we are together in NATO. And unfortunately, because that I didn't predict, frankly speaking, that after 20 years, or 25 years, we'll have a such challenge like Putin and Russian aggression against Ukraine.
Yeah, we've been talking about this window of opportunity, and not every country managed to go through this window. I mean, Ukraine, you came back with your memories to 2004, to Orange Revolution time, when you were managing the conflict together with President Valdas Adamkus. And actually, I was on the same plane with the president when you gave a ride with your own plane to President Adamkus and Lithuanian delegation to Kiev. But you are very active now in Ukraine. You are a member of many boards, international boards, which includes the leaders of the states, including you, President Grybauskaitė, etc., etc. And do you still see any real possibility of achieving peace in Ukraine by the terms or conditions of Ukrainians? Do you still see any light of it?
Honestly?
Yes.
I don't see. And I tell you why. Because that is a problem from the very beginning of this Ukrainian history, especially during Putin's period. I tell you such story. 2002, I'm quite experienced president because it's my 7th year in the office. Putin is a very young president, only 1 year and some months. I was on the return route from South Korea because I participate in the beginning of World Championship in football. Poland played with South Korea in Busan. We lost 0-2, but I will not speak about this match. Don't worry, it's too painful for me. Then I stopped in Moscow, and I had a very long conversation, 4 hours, with Putin in his Kremlin apartment, in Russian, without translators, and Putin was quite frank, because you know that the people from this part of the world, they don't like the witnesses of such conversation. It's better to have tete-a-tete.
Only 2 of you, 4 hours.
4 hours, yes, and not too much wine or vodka. It was very sober evening, let's say. And I asked him, what are your main goals as a new president of Russia? And he told me 2 things. The first was that he wants to rebuild the position of Russia on the international politics, on the international stage. It was quite obvious for me, because that is a task for all presidents in the world, Of course, according to the possibilities, according to the position, but that is quite natural that we want to build the best position of our countries in the world. But the second point was much more difficult, dangerous. I want to rebuild Great Russia. We spoke in Russian. He told me, Великая Россия. Великая Россия. What means Великая Россия, you here in Vilnius or we in Warsaw, we know very well. That is the sense of the state from Tsarist time. It means imperialistic Tsarist Russia or Soviet Union. And of course, if you want to build or rebuild Великая Россия, Great Russia, Ukraine is the most important part of that. So for him was idea, the main task, to rebuild this Great Russia. It means together with 100% of Ukraine, together with 100% of Belarus, with Moldova, with Caucasus, with Central Asia, and maybe not with Baltic states, because 2002 we are together in NATO and close to European Union, but who knows what is in his brain. And, but frankly speaking, my reaction on that, well, of course we discuss these issues, but my understanding of this statement when I thought about it was that is a dream, some kind of dream of a new leader.
Like an illusion.
Well, a little bit like an illusion. After Orange Revolution, I understood that is no longer a dream. That is a plan. Why? Because Orange Revolution was a very, very dramatic experience for Putin. Because the people on the street decided about the future of democracy in this post-Soviet country. And if the people on the streets of Kiev, on Maidan, they can ask about free and fair election, about democracy, about respect for human rights, such situation can happen in Moscow as well. That is, let's say, the same experience, the same history or similar history, etc. And in my opinion, since 2005, this Velika Russia concept is changed into the plan. 2014, we have very serious elements of this plan: annexation of Crimea, support for separatists in Donetsk and Lugansk. But since 2014, in my opinion, this Ukrainian case is his obsession, Putin's obsession. Why am I speaking about it? Because in my opinion, the key to find peace in Ukraine, the key to find some solution in Ukraine is much more in Moscow as in Washington or Kiev or Brussels. And as long as Putin wants to have in his hands or in his zone of influence, not Donetsk, Lugansk, Crimea and occupied territories, but entire Ukraine, 100% of Ukraine, especially Kiev, Odessa, all these parts, that means that he can make some tactical pauses or even decisions like acceptance for ceasefire, something like that. But Putin, is not interested about long-term peace, and especially peace based on some Ukrainian very legitimate interest according to international law, etc. That is the point. And therefore, I don't believe that we can find such solution. Of course, we'll have now probably very soon new situation because of new American administration, Trump, etc. But I tell you what I heard or I read from the circle of Trump's advisors. In my opinion, all these ideas are not about the peace. They are about the frozen war. And the frozen war is not a solution, because frozen war, it is the best gift for Putin, because he will buy time. He will have time to reorganize military forces, to produce more military equipment, missiles, etc.
The fast solution, you are saying, is only a buying time for Putin. The Trump's administration and the Trump's promise to have a fast solution or fast peace is just only frozen battlefield.
It's a frozen war. Let's say simply, this is a frozen war, what is not a solution. And especially this frozen war, which maybe Trump will try to call as a peace, is the most dramatic solution for Ukrainians. Why? Because frozen war means that the future is absolutely unknown. Secondly, you have no chances to continue some negotiations about European Union or about NATO. And finally...
Especially NATO.
Yeah, and then the next point, how to invite investors and foreign investments into the country where nobody knows what will happen next week or next month. And then, of course, Russians will use all kinds of hybrid methods, etc., to have a more political influence in Kiev and other places. Because they know very well, and that is natural, that is obvious, that this fatigue is not only the problem of Western societies. The fatigue is the main problem of Ukrainian society today. The human resources are limited, you know. Thousands of people died during this war. Thousands came home with injured, you know, handicapped. It's a very dramatic situation, and politically, that is easy to predict. Ukraine, during such ceasefire period, will have a lot of political turmoil. Will have political tensions because, you know, that is not success for Zelensky, and not success for Ukraine. Some who is responsible for all the things, and then that is again the good space, political space for Russians to make all these manipulations.
Do we still have any possibility to make American interest in long-term solution in Ukraine? Do we still have a chance to I don't know, to make an impact to new Trump's administration?
No, it's necessary to work. I understand that many of European politicians, they try to use the contacts. I know it's happened or will happen. The new General Secretary of NATO, Rutte, is in Washington. And what we know from the previous role of Rutte as the Prime Minister of Holland, he had some special approach to Trump, psychological approach.
He's also a man of deals.
Well, we'll see. You know, still, you know, to discuss about what Trump will do is extremely complicated, because when I met the closest collaborators of Trump, like John Bolton, who was his chief of national security advisor, or General McMaster, this previous guy on this position, they told me, you know, difficult to say because he's an unpredictable person, Trump. And to predict what will do unpredictable person, that is like a prophecy. That is much too much even for me, you know. That's I understand that you count on me very much.
He is predictably unpredictable.
Well, in this element, yes. But this unpredictability can mean everything. That he will press Ukrainians for some kind of a capitulation, or he will try to say to Putin, no, now it's time for some negotiation, etc. And maybe Putin will make mistake and say, Donald, I'm not interested about it, and let's say, you know, I will not...
let's have a war?
No, but then, you know, that reaction of such ambitious guy like Trump can be, oh, you say so to me, that I will show you. Maybe, I have no idea. The problem is that we should be prepared on very strategic, we Europeans and we in Lithuania and Poland, for strategic element, which in my opinion is decided, not only because of Trump, but because of this new situation in the United States. The engagement, involvement of the United States in NATO and Europe will decrease.
Yeah.
Will decrease. And therefore, we in Europe, we should be prepared to pay more, to be better organized, to have better cooperation of military industries, to have more political, let's say, discussion on the topest level about the security, because American umbrella, security umbrella at least will be smaller, and maybe will be closed. And why is not a question of Trump only? Because let's look the social structure of the United States. The time when this, let's say, European roots, where the people with European roots, where strong majority is finished. It's finished. It's important still, but it's finished. Today, in the American society, you have more and more Latinos, the people with Latino roots, Asian roots, etc. And for them, you know, in all these political elections next year, the question transatlantic or Pacific is at least the same, and maybe much more in the direction of Pacific. And it started with Obama, frankly speaking. This is nothing new. So Europe must be prepared for this change of American society first, American politics, and should be prepared that next American president can be the man with Asian roots or Latino roots, etc. And then to explain to him that, or to her, that the most important are transatlantic ties will be extremely difficult. So time to rethink our understanding of the security, of course still with full respect to the United States. We need America. We should be happy if America will stay with such engagement inside NATO, etc. But also I expect that during Trump administration we'll have a lot of tensions on the line European Union and USA, especially in all these trade issues, etc.
Having in mind everything you said about the declining interest of United States into Europe and the priority, the main competitor of America, of course, is China, and it's a fact that they will focus, the new administration will focus on Asia mostly. One of the most famous European analysts, Edward Lucas, just had a comment that we have to rethink, as you said, the new acts of security in Europe. And he is mentioning the acts starting Britain, having in mind expeditionary force, first of all, then Dutch, Holland, and then Poland, Nordic Baltic, maybe Czech Republic. And he called it the coalition of willing, of determined within NATO. Do you believe that that could be a new solution of security for Poland, Nordic Baltic states, new acts of security starting in London, finishing, I don't know, in Kiev?
Well, no, of course in Kiev, no doubt. No, I tell you, I like Valdas, we are very experienced negotiators, so I tell you, it's necessary to start negotiations with very general goal without such specific concepts like Lucas has written, because the first goal, and I think that is a task for the leaders of European countries, especially for Polish leaders, Lithuanian leaders, is to start to say, friends, it's time to sit here and to discuss how we want to organize this European security if America will be not so much interested to help us and to support us. And then, of course, the next step should be we invite everybody. Because for such European system of the security, we need all the European countries, including Cyprus, Malta, etc., etc. Of course, the leading forces of this new concept will be the strongest countries like UK, like Germany, of course, if they will decide about it, France, but also the countries which understand better as, let's say, southern part of Europe, the danger coming from Russia. It means
you mean Poland? those let's say Jagiellonian content from three seas?
No, not three seas, not Jagiellonian. I tell you, be careful with all the, if you want to use such historical arguments, I tell you, when we have this Orange Revolution and the thing, I had a meeting with Putin. He was very, after success of our mission, we met beginning of, it was the anniversary of liberation of Auschwitz. Yep. And Putin refused. Putin said, no, he will not come because my role in the Orange Revolution. So I called him, Vladimir, that's, Red Army liberated Auschwitz. Why you resign of this celebration? That is in favor of your history, of your soldiers, etc. By the way, that finally we realized that the main, the leader of this group which liberated finally
Ukrainian general.
Ukrainian Jew.
Ukrainian Jew.
Even better, Ukrainian Jew. That is a very, very typical representative of Red Army. By the way, and then he told me, you are fighting for Ukraine because that is a struggle between two empires. I said, my God, two empires? Which one?
Which one is the second?
Yeah, which is Russia, I understand it. Second is Polish-Lithuanian Empire. I said, look, this story is finished at the end of 16th century. we were...
Let's make a Putin dream come true.
You want to have a peace or war, you know? Let's decide it. Decide about what do you want?
It's been 300 years since the last time Polish and Lithuanian soldiers burned Moscow.
Not burned. Better to say visited Moscow. Visited Moscow. But
okay, coming back to serious discussion.
I'm very much careful to use all these historical examples because you have such different associations, even like you, that it's better not to use it. The idea should be more European security, better European security system, and we should invite everybody first. Second, we, the neighbors to some extent of Russia, we should play the role very special because we have better knowledge, we have some own experiences, and that is much more than Jagiellonian group because this is today Finland, Sweden. What is unbelievable, you know, these two countries are members of NATO now. And frankly speaking, in this concept of European security, these two countries are extremely important because if you want to compare the potential of military industry in Europe, these two, not the most populated country, are on the top. Finland is a very good producer of quite complicated technologically military equipment, the same Sweden, and they should be the leading force in all these elements. But that is my advice number 2, we should invite everybody. Spain, yes, Italy, yes, and of course then we'll see the troubles. Because Russia will try to eliminate some countries from this group. They have a really impact in some countries. They will try to use different methods. But I think step by step, and we have not too much time, because time is not our main, let's say, supporter. The time is much more against us as with us. And it's necessary to build. Still, underlining, and that's his next point, underlining necessity, importance of European and American relationships. Everything should be done with the highest respect to the United States. We need you, but if you have some doubts, we should do what is necessary to do. And we cannot wait what this administration or next administration will do, because I tell you, that is one of our mistakes. We believe too long, because this process started
too much on others.
Obama. Yeah,
we believe too much on others.
Yeah, and others, and it was, of course, with all our experience, it was quite natural. You know, America will help us forever, and this is not so simple.
And Mr. President, as we go through the security issues, the defense spendings, we have a huge discussion now in Lithuania. How much should we spend? Having in mind those factors, as you've been saying, the time, how much time do we have? And actually, you have very widespread consensus all over Poland. I mean, the defense spending issue. And when the Prime Minister Tusk says we will spend almost 5% of GDP, he has no opposition. You have total consensus. How did you manage to have it? Maybe not a total consensus, but we have a huge consensus to spend more money. 5% of GDP is a lot, and that is, of course, the problem. Especially for the country like Poland. I mean, for the country like Poland, and then, you know, to control the budget deficit, etc. That is, from macroeconomic points of view, that is extremely difficult decision. But politically, is accepted because of our history. We know very well that, you know, sometimes you have to fight alone. Yeah, and that's the main problem. We know that if you count on only the signed agreements and nice declarations, etc., is not enough. Before Second World War, we had, you know, all agreements, even with Russia, you know, that about non-aggression treaty, but we had treaty about support with Great Britain, France, and nothing worked. You know. I think that our potential to stop possible attack of Russians in some
period of time and the beginning of such action is crucial for the future of NATO. And expectations from NATO side are that Poland, unfortunately, we are on the front line. We are the first. And if one day, what would be very tragic information for us, if one day Ukraine will be not protected and supported by us, and Putin will be again on the Polish-Ukrainian border, it means that we are the next, and we should be prepared for that. And knowing the history and understanding the situation, I think still in Poland is possible to keep this consensus. But I'm political realist. I know if the economic situation will be worsening, you know, this question will be under question mark again. You know, this is not so that, you know, that is forever. You know, that 5%. No, if we'll have a problem with social programs, we'll stop our GDP growth. You know, we'll have political parties, and the people asking why we spend so much money for defense. But of course, that is Polish advantage. We have some kind of consensus, and we have also consensus in sense to support Ukraine, to spend more money for Ukraine. But frankly speaking, I'm not so sure about reaction of Polish society if we'll have some kind of this frozen war. It means some kind of capitulation of Ukraine. You know, these territories, annexed territories plus occupied territories are in the Russian hands. Then probably we'll have a next wave of Ukrainian refugees. And the reaction of Polish society in the year 22 was absolutely unbelievable. Positive is not enough to say. Even for me, you know, it was amazing. It was, you know, the people waiting for this refugee next to the border, then inviting them to their own houses, etc., etc. You know, mainly everything was okay, but not 100% cases. You know, we had also the problems. Some of our guests were not so nice as we expected, you know, etc. But frankly speaking, I'm not so sure that the second big wave of the refugees will be welcomed so well as the first one. It will create some real tensions, and we have, even now in Poland, we have the party which is creating the position on this more anti-Ukrainian slogan. That is Konfederacja, this name of the party is Confederation, and in the public opinion polls they have something between 10 to 12% of votes, and they can increase to 15, etc. If this scenario for Ukraine will be bad.
We have a few minutes for questions from the floor, so please raise your hand or give a question or comment. Ask what would you like to ask the president? Yes, Edmundas Jakilaitis, the president of Lithuanian Industrialists, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. As we discussed before the table with Mr. Adamkus, we have the gold area between Lithuanian and Polish relations. I think now we're at the silver level, or maybe coming to the gold. What is your opinion? What should we do, both nations, or what should do our politicians to create the same era which we have during your both presidency? Thank you.
Well, I tell you, first, you know, why our era. I'm a modest person, I cannot say golden or diamond, but also I will not...
Golden and diamond together.
Yeah, but I don't like to criticize you because you are using this description. Okay. No, I tell you, we had very important strategic goals, and that is helping very much because we knew, Valdas and me, we knew very well that for us, the future is based on some elements. First, NATO. Second, European Union. Third, democracy in Ukraine. Fourth, to create good bilateral relations, not only on these historical issues, also in very contemporary questions like infrastructure, economic cooperation, Możejki, Orlen, etc., etc. Of course, something happened something, not so much, but we achieved these strategic goals. This time we have, again, strategic goal. That is how to stop aggressive politics of Russia, how to prepare Europe to be stronger and safer, and prepared for some kind of hybrid attacks from Russian side, etc. And that is a great goal. And it's necessary to work on the level of presidents, prime ministers, ministers, etc., to discuss how we can achieve it. Then, I think on this bilateral level, still discussing all these historical issues, what we should step by step resolve, we should have some good ideas about infrastructure, connections, investments, business, but it looks quite well. And that is generally speaking. And then you have the question of methods. And I tell you, the problem is very complicated because we have a new era of politics. New era of politics. The time of Adamkus and myself was a time that democracy, democratic procedures were managed by politicians. We decided about our goals, about how we want to achieve it, who will do it, who will be the minister, etc., etc. Of course, it's true that we read sometimes all these public opinion polls, etc., but it was not a main argument for us. For us, the main argument was the idea, the goal, the values, how we can achieve it. And this political world is finished. Today, and I'm very sad about it, that today democracy and democratic procedures are managed by PR specialists. PR specialists. I don't want to use Lithuanian examples, I will speak about Poland. You know, the party, Mr. Kaczynski's party, the party was 8 years in power, they did a lot of bad things, they lost last elections, and we have presidential elections soon, May next year. They decided, because it was decision of PR specialists, that the candidate of this party should be independent, non-partisan person, good-looking person, enough young person. Poland has almost 40 million people, and that is not surprise. They found such person, you know. They found such person. They found such person.
History teacher.
Yeah, history professor.
History teacher.
History doctor, you know, not very well known, but they have such person. And you know, they think still, these PR specialists, they think that it's possible to explain to the public opinion in Poland that this candidate, fully supported by this party, financed by this party, speaking this party language, having all this, or proposing the program of this party, is an independent, non-partisan candidate. We'll see, you know. I know that for 25–30% of Polish voters, probably it's possible to make such, how to say, show, or difficult to say, because that is not a serious politics. And that is the problem. That is the problem. We need the politicians who understand the values, the ideas, the rules, and they know how to discuss about these things. Because with Valdas Adamkus, I met, I don't know how many times, officially, not officially, privately, during the international conferences, etc., etc. And such permanent dialogue. And it doesn't mean that in all elements we were absolutely with the same opinion. No. We had some differences, but it was based on the permanent dialogue. And we had no problem if some issue was more complicated to start and to call Valdas, we have to do something with it. Or Aleksander, we have to do something with it. Today, such dialogue, frankly speaking, doesn't exist or is very poor. And today, instead such natural, well-organized dialogue, you have official statements. So, you know, the president of Poland said in his interview or statement something. Next day, president of other countries is reacting on that. And next day, and again, we are in the hands of PR specialists. And that is a nightmare. That is a nightmare. Because if in the world, because that's not a problem of Poland, Lithuania, it's a problem of United States as well, and Britain, Brexit, etc. If we will continue such methods or such path, the future of democracy is really in danger. Because we will lose the content, and we have a real enemy. And that is one last point in this long answer. The real enemy is this change of this communication environment. Social media changed the communication. 20 years ago, party proposed the program. Sometimes the program was 20 pages, 30 pages, okay, but it was something. Today, you have 3 sentences. Taxes, yes, taxes, no. War, yes, peace, not, or etc., etc. This is not enough. And today, I tell you, because that is important. I'm involved in Ukrainian issues very long time, since the independence. And as you know, it was one of expectations from the West, Americans, Europe, that Ukrainians will fight against so-called oligarchs. And I think even it started during Poroshenko period, and finally Zelensky accepted the bill against oligarchs. And in this bill was necessary to define who is an oligarch. And this definition of oligarch was more or less following. The oligarch is a very rich man with influence on the politics and having some media instruments. And they started to cut these ties, you know, that some of the people resign of these media groups, like Akhmetov or Pinchuk or others, etc. Nobody resigned of the money, different story. But they resigned. But look, it happened 5 years ago, this anti-oligarch bill in Ukraine, according to American expectations. And who is ruling United States today? A man who is the richest one in the world, not in Ukraine, in the world, who has political influence because he's close to President Trump, and now he will be the part of American administration, and he's the owner of X platform, the biggest platform of information in the world. That is the biggest oligarch in the history of the world. And America accepted, yes? And that is a real danger. If we'll have such person everywhere, if we'll have such, and the example is coming from America today, that we have no chances. Democracy has no chances. I'm very sorry because it's enough late and we wait, but we have enough wine to drink and not to think about my statement too seriously. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's applaud to the President Aleksander Kwaśniewski.